I'm Anjanette, and welcome to Narrative Nights. So, what Narrative Nights is authors that are coming together and they're doing live readings and sharing their story. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved getting lost in a story and always wanted to be a writer, but people told me it wasn't a real career. So, I kind of kept that at bay. And now I'm doing what I always wanted to do. I'm writing and telling those stories that I used to get lost in. I want to bring people together because I think there's so many people that are putting out wonderful works, children's stories and poetry and beautiful things that really are cultural, right? And they really do embody what culture is. So I want to bring them together and give them a special place where they can share part of their stories here with us. And there'll be a little interview so you can learn more about the people that are out there writing these amazing stories and putting them out in the world so you and I can read them. So again, I am Anjanette, and this year I have published quite a lot of books because whether it's a career or not, it's something I absolutely enjoy doing. And I always get lost in a story. So my newest book is Anger in the Closet, and I'm going to read a little some of it to you because nobody can really interview me for my show. So I hope you can get lost in this story. So, Anger in the Closet is poetry, right? But it starts with a little bit of memoir. And I went through a lot of trauma as a child growing up, and this was my way into making it something beautiful. So, I actually wrote this book when I was very young, and I revived it to current day. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to read the beginning and then you can decide if I should still write, right? Or if you want to get lost in the rest of my story. So hang on a second. So let's go to this section is called Shadows of the Past. The past is never truly gone. It lingers in the shadows, whispering fears and doubts when you least expect it. For years I hid from pain, burying it deep within a closet I dared not open. But the weight grew heavier, and I realized that facing those shadows was the only way to really free myself. This chapter is about that reckoning, the raw, unfiltered truths of the past and the courage it takes to confront them. In the corner of her dimly lit room, the shadows seemed to gather and pool like spilled ink. Spreading across the worn wooden floor, Conscious lay atop her bed. The thin covers pulled tight up to her chin, as though they could shield her from the dread coiling in her chest. Her wide, unblinking eyes locked onto the hulking figure of the closet door. It loomed larger in the suffocating gloom, its edges stretching beyond what her rational mind knew to be true. The brass handle gleamed faintly in the moonlight, mocking her, a silent invitation or a cruel reminder of what waited beyond its frame. Though her room was still, the air carried a weight tonight, pressing against her like invisible hands. It was not just the darkness, the room itself seemed alive. Each creak of the floorboards beneath her bed, an unwelcome reminder that she was not alone. The walls felt too close, their faded wallpaper curling at the edges like jagged teeth. She pressed her small frame deeper into the wall, her back cold against the plaster. It was the farthest she could get from the closet without leaving the bed entirely. She wanted to. Every muscle in her body screamed to run, to bolt out of the room and throw herself into the safe, warm light of the hallway. But she knew she would not make it. She always knew. Her breathing slowed to shallow gasps. As her fingers clutched the edge of the blanket tighter, the air was heavy, thick, like it had lungs of its own. It shifted and stirred, and Conscious swore she could feel it on her skin, whispering through her hair, brushing against the nape of her neck. The closet door stood silent, but its presence was a roar in her mind. She could almost feel it watching her, waiting. She could not look away. Not tonight, not when she knew what came next. Her fingers moved to her mouth, gnawing at her nails, the sharp bites filling the silence of the room. Little shards of her nerves fell to the floor, tiny sacrifices to stave off her fear. It did not work. Just do it, she whispered to herself. Her voice trembled, but her resolve held firm. She swung her legs over the edge of the bed, her feet brushing against the cold rug below. Her stomach twisted with every step as she inched toward the closet. Her shadow stretched long and trembling, a mirror of her own unease. She hesitated. Her eyes darted to the door of her room, gauging the distance. Could she make it? Could she flee and pretend this moment never existed? No, not this time. The air thickens with every inch closer. The faint murmurs from inside the closet rose in a haunting symphony, low and guttural, pulling her in. Her hand trembled as she reached out, her fingertips brushing against the cool metal knob. Just do it, she repeated. And then, before her courage failed, she yanked the door open. The closet was not empty. Inside were skeletons, not the kinds of grotesque, decayed figures she had feared, but the manifestations of feelings long since buried. Some stood stiff and silent, hollow-eyed and shadowed, while others laughed and danced. One skeleton had her mother's warm smile, another her childhood friend's infectious laugh. There was pain here, anger slouched in a dark corner, resentment scowled near the back. But there was joy too. She blinked, her fear giving way to curiosity. Maybe, she murmured, almost to herself, if I dealt with those feelings more often, there'd be happy, there'd be more happy skeletons and fewer angry ones. For the first time in a long time, the weight in her chest felt to lift. She smiled softly, stepping back from the closet, because now she knew there would be no more anger in the closet. So I wrote this book to inspire people to make something beautiful at even the worst times of our life. That in every moment, good and bad, we can find the courage to live again. So in this book, I cover abuse and all different kinds of trauma that I suffered as a child growing up, hoping to give people the courage to know they're not alone and that they too can release those skeletons so there's no more anger in their closet and they could live a full life and become the people that they are meant to be in this world because no one gets to decide our fate but us. So in these books, we delve into to escape to another place, another time where things are better than the now. So I hope that you can get lost in some of our stories here on Narrative Nights, because these people went through a great deal of love to bring you their stories. So I hope you'll tune in week to week and hear some of these fascinating stories. Have a great day. Take care.